Alright, Assalamu alaikum. This is Talha bin Nadeem, and I'm going to start the video lecture number 2 of the topic carburetors. In the last class, we had a brief discussion regarding the previous topics which we studied in internal combustion engines. Then we started off with a new topic of carburetors, which is one of the most essential components of internal combustion engine. Then we had a look regarding the carburation. We discussed what is carburation and what is the purpose of carburetor. We had a brief discussion regarding it, and we concluded by saying that the carburetors are those devices which forms the air-fuel mixture, and not only it forms the air-fuel mixture, but it also atomizes the fuel. It also atomizes the fuel depending upon the various load conditions. And why the atomization is important? In order to ensure the formation of homogeneous mixture. Then we discussed the factors which affects the carburation. First one was the engine speed, that how the variation in engine speeds regulates the requirement of the air-fuel mixture. Then we had a discussion regarding the vaporization characteristics of the fuel, that if the fuel is volatile, it is going to make a more homogeneous mixture. The third factor which we discussed was the temperature of an incoming air, and we concluded it by saying that higher the incoming temperature of air will increases the vaporization of a fuel, but it will which is basically a benefit. It will increase the vaporization, but the disadvantage from increasing the temperature of incoming air is that it will reduce the volumetric efficiency of the engine, as the mass of the air has been reduced, which is going into the combustion chamber, so the volumetric efficiency will decrease. The last factor which we discussed was of engine design, and we discussed it that when we have a number of cylinders in an engine, and we want to supply the same air fuel ratio in each cylinder, and for that purpose the designing of an engine is very important. Then we started with the air fuel mixture requirements, and we had a brief discussion, in fact a detailed discussion regarding the chemically correct, or you can say stoichiometric mixture. Then we studied the rich mixture and lean mixture as well, and we also discussed this diagram as well, in which we concluded by saying that from 15 to something, let's say like 17, this is the combustible range. Within this range your IC engine will operate quite comfortably, but if you go beyond this range, when the mixture is either too rich, we have a less amount of oxygen, so improper combustion may occur, or your flame propagation may not propagate throughout the combustion chamber. Similarly, it was in the case of the lean mixture. If we have too much air molecules, they will not allow the fuel to burn as well. In fact, they will not propagate the flame in the whole combustion chamber. Then we had we discussed these graphs. In fact, they are two graphs, air fuel ratio and power output, and the second one is of air fuel ratio and brake specific fuel consumption. And we concluded this graph by saying that whenever we require higher power, we have to provide a rich air fuel mixture. This is the stoichiometric mixture line. This is your stoichiometric mixture line, and if we provide the rich mixture, which is on the left side of this stoichiometric mixture line, then we can have a best power output, which is the requirement in the case of acceleration or in the idling case. And then we also discussed this second graph, which was of the air fuel ratio and the brake specific fuel consumption. In this graph we basically concluded that when you are operating under the normal conditions or you have a cruising operation, then you will not provide a stoichiometric mixture, rather you will provide the best economy mixture, which is slightly leaner than the stoichiometric mixture. So under normal condition, it is desirable to have a maximum economy mixture, but when you require for a quick acceleration or maximum power, you require a rich mixture. When you require more power, you will send rich mixture. When you require best economy, you will send low mixture. We will send lean mixture. So now further continuing this topic, you guys must have noticed that I was using a word idling conditions, or maybe you must have also heard saying starting conditions. So idling conditions or starting conditions are basically those conditions when you start your IC engine or when you start your car, then there is no load on the engine. You have just started your car. So engine is basically running without load, and we require more power to overcome the friction between the parts. Okay, so this is an important point here which needs to be understood. The stationary parts of the IC engine are static, and you require some additional, more power in order to move those stationary parts, stationary parts of your car or your IC engine. So what we need to do is we will provide a rich air fuel mixture. Okay, we will provide a rich air fuel mixture. There is also another factor which needs to be taken care of, and that is of exhaust gas dilution. So if you want to understand the exhaust gas dilution, we will have to understand this figure. Okay, by the word exhaust gas dilution, you can simply understand it by saying that your fresh air fuel mixture is coming in and they are being diluted by the exhaust gases which was in your IC engine. But the question is, how are they going to dilute the fresh fresh air fuel mixture which is coming from the carburetor? So let's say you have this is your IC engine, and you have inside this combustion chamber you have exhaust gases. Your fresh air fuel mixture, when you started your engine, your fresh air fuel mixture is coming from carburetor. You should know that this throttle valve will not be opened properly. It will be slightly opened, and only very few amount of air fuel mixture would be coming from here, and it will be of some pressure around 0.3 bar. But inside this combustion chamber, the pressure of the flue gases will be high, and when the inlet valve is opened, this exhaust gases will flow. These exhaust gases will flow into the intake manifold. Because the pressure inside the intake manifold is lower than the pressure inside the combustion chamber, which is around 1.2 bars, and inside the intake manifold we have a pressure of 0.3 bar. So in that case, this exhaust gases will dilute These exhaust gases will dilute the fresh incoming air-fuel mixture, and when the piston goes down, it will come again inside the combustion chamber for combustion, and in that case your fresh air-fuel mixture has been diluted. Okay, so which will ultimately affects your combustion, and you will get there will be some power losses, and you will not get the proper output which is desirable to overcome the friction between the static parts. So what we do is, so you can simply say that because of the pressure difference, initially there will be a backflow of the exhaust gases into the intake manifold, which will ultimately dilute your fresh incoming air. Okay, diluted more by the exhaust gases, which will result in the poor combustion, and as a result in loss of power. So what we do to overcome this situation is we will provide some additional fuel, or you can say we will provide rich fuel air mixture. And by the word rich fuel air mixture is that we will have more fuel particles as compared we will have more fuel particles along with the air particles. Means I explained you the rich fuel mixture in the last lecture as well, that for example, if a molecule requires 10 air molecule, if a molecule of a fuel requires 10 air molecules for proper combustion, for stoichiometric combustion, and instead of providing 10 molecules, I have provided 8 molecules of air, this will be called the rich air fuel mixture. So it is in such such is the scenario we have here. We will provide a large amount of a fuel, more molecules of a fuel with the air, so we can have a rich fuel air mixture, and it will ultimately what will happen is that more fuel particles inside the combustion chamber will have a greater chance for a combustion, and ultimately which will give you the your desired power output, which will overcome this friction between the parts. So this is all about the idling condition, or the starting condition of your engine. Next we have is a cruising or normal power condition. So cruising and a normal power condition is basically that condition at which your engine is operating with a normal, with a you can say with a constant speed or with a constant load. There is no load variation. So at this point we do not require a rich air fuel mixture. But in fact, if we have a look at the previous graph which we studied, that under the normal conditions we will provide a slightly lean air fuel mixture, because we would be getting the best economy in that scenario, which is good, because your fuel your engine will be consuming less fuel. So it is good that if under the normal condition, if you are providing a lean air fuel mixture, you will have a lower brake specific fuel consumption, and your power outputs would be same, since the engine is already operating on those conditions. So and another important factor in the cruising is that we do not have an exhaust gas dilution problem here. Exhaust gas dilution problem in normal conditions or in cruising condition is relatively low. Fuel economy has maintained as engine run for most of the period. Lean mixture is required. So from this curve you can also see that when you have started your engine, you require rich air fuel mixture, and as the throttle valve has opened something around, let's say 30%, so 30%, 30 to 35% you can say, and we have started providing, the requirement for the engine becomes constant, almost constant. Okay, so we will be providing lean air fuel mixture in that scenario for, let's say, something around 75%, 75 to 80%. But when the throttle valve opens beyond that, so we need to provide again the rich mixture, and that is in the case of maximum power output or the acceleration case. Under the normal conditions, when you are operating your car on the city roads, your throttle valve is generally open for something around 20 to 60%, 65%. But when you are pressing your accelerator pedal more than that, then you will require some additional fuel air mixture. You will require rich air fuel mixture to generate more power, so that your IC engine operates on that higher loads as well. So when you have a maximum power or acceleration condition, rich mixture is required for two reasons. Firstly, to provide best power output. Secondly, and the second one is quite interesting as well. Secondly, enriching the mixture reduces the flame temperature. This needs to be understood quite carefully. Enriching the mixture reduces the flame temperature. What will happen here is that since we have additional molecules of the fuel, they will start absorbing the energy inside the combustion chamber. Instead of getting combusted, they will start absorbing the energy, which will ultimately reduce the cooling requirements of your IC engine. You will have to reject lesser amount of heat from your IC engine. And not only that, it will also increase the life of your valves when your engine is operating at higher power. So it is giving you two advantages. First, it is providing the best power output. Second, it has reduced the flame temperatures and thus reducing the cooling problems of the IC engine. And not only that, but it has also reduced the tendency to damage the valves as well. Your valves are the most prone to damage, and you have to your valve seats are most commonly damaged when your engine is starting deteriorating. So with the reducing flame temperature, you can simply increase the life of your valves up to around 15 to 20%. Moving forward, now we have the basic components of the carburetor, and in these basic components, we will start with the fuel strainer. On the right side, we have a simple schematic diagram of a carburetor. This is a schematic diagram of a simple carburetor. This carburetor does not have any auxiliary equipments which the modern carburetor does have. It is the simple basic schematic of a carburetor. And we are starting off with the fuel strainer. Here you can see this is your fuel strainer. Your fuel is coming from here, from your fuel storage tank. Then it will pass through the strainer. If it has some dust particles or some other impurities as well, it will get stuck in the strainer while your fuel will start flowing into the fuel supply valve. So this is the purpose of the strainer. The purpose of the strainer is simply to block any dust particles or any other particles in which are present in your fuel. So moving towards the next part, next component. Next component, one of the most important component of your simple carburetor is of float chamber. Float chamber with a float to store, supply and adjust level of fuel. So you can see here that your fuel from strainer has now come in this tank. This is your float chamber. This tank is your float chamber. This section is your float, and this section which I am highlighting here is your float pivot. What will happen here is it will reduce when the level of this float pivot is decreased. The fuel which is coming from the strainer will enter here in the float chamber, and when this float pivot level reaches that point here, it will block the supply line, and no fuel will enter in the float chamber unless there is again decrease in the fuel level. There will be no additional fuel coming from strainer inside the float chamber. The phenomena will remain same. The float pivot level will decrease, fuel will come, and when it reaches to the same level, the fuel will not come. When that level decreases, the fuel will start coming back again, and when the level reaches the same, the fuel will not come. Okay, so this is all about the float chamber with a float. It is basically storing and supplying the fuel as well. I will discuss the supply part later, and adjusting the fuel level inside the float chamber as well. So next part is a round cylinder with a venturi section. Okay, this is apparently a rectangular portion, but this is the cross section view of a circular portion. This is a cross section view. So if I draw a regular, it will be like this. This is a section view. This is a section view. Okay, so I have sectioned it. This is a circular portion. It would have been a pure circular portion, but I have cut it and shown you the half section of that venturi section. In here you can see some important components: the choke valve, fuel discharge nozzle. I will discuss this part as well, but right now I am going to start with the venturi section. Here you can see this is your venturi section. Okay, this is your venturi section, and in this venturi section you can see first it is converging and then it is diverging. We have a converging and a diverging section. So I discussed in the last lecture as well that in the carburetor we basically have a converging and diverging section, which will because of the pressure reduction, which will take the fuel from the float chamber into this venturi section, and the air will take that fuel, and not only it will take the fuel, but it will also atomize the fuel, which is also very essential for making a homogeneous mixture. It will also atomize the fuel. So what is happening here is, when your choke valve is open, the incoming air is coming from this section. When it goes into this converging section of the nozzle of this venturi, it will it will start increasing the velocity. And not only that, the velocity is increased at the expense of the drop in the pressure. And since the pressure at this point is reduced as compared to the pressure at this point, this reduction in pressure will allow the fuel to flow from this float chamber through this metering orifice into the venturi section. And when this air is mixed with the fuel, it will atomize the fuel and will take the fuel along with it towards the throttle valve and then into your combustion chamber as well. Okay, so what can we conclude regarding this venturi section? Air is incoming inside the venturi, the velocity is increasing at the expense of the drop in pressure, and because of that, the fuel inside this float chamber will start moving from this float chamber to this venturi section and will go with the air towards the throttle valve and then into your intake manifold and your IC and your combustion chamber. When the flow moves from float chamber to the venturi section, the float pivot will start, the level inside this float chamber will start decreasing, and this float pivot will drop. Level of the float pivot will drop. Then the fuel from the strainer will start coming. When the level reaches the same, then the fuel will not come. Okay, so that was the supply part which I mentioned that I will explain in the next point. So float chamber was not only storing the fuel or adjusting the fuel level, but it is also supplying the fuel to the venturi section. So I have discussed the venturi section and also the fuel discharge nozzle section. This nozzle from which the fuel is being supplied, this nozzle from which the fuel is being supplied from float chamber to the nozzle to the venturi section, it's called fuel discharge nozzle. Next we have a choke valve. The purpose of this choke valve is simply to control the amount of air. Sometimes it happens that if this choke valve is not operating properly in your bike, you started the rotating your choke valve in the bike engine to allow more air to enter in your combustion chamber, so that your bike may have a better chance to get start. So that is the purpose of the choke valve. Then we have a throttle valve. Throttle valve is at the other end of the carburetor. It is basically, the purpose of this throttle valve is basically to regulate the air fuel, regulate the amount of air fuel mixture which is going into the intake manifold and then into your combustion chambers, depending upon the whatever the load requirements are. So these are the basic components which we have discussed so far. I hope it is clear to you. We started with the idling and starting condition. Today we started with the idling and starting condition. Then we move towards cruising and normal power, then to the maximum power. Then we discuss some of the basic components of carburetor. Now moving towards the basic principle of carburation. Since we have already discussed carburetor now, understanding the principle of carburation won't be that much difficult now. So before starting this, we need to understand, you must understand, you must know the names of these basic components: fuel strainer, from which the fuel is coming; float chamber and float, in which the chamber in which the fuel is stored and then being supplied to your venturi section. Then we have a venturi section, the fuel discharge nozzle, choke valve, and a throttle valve. Alright, now starting with the basic with the principle of carburation. The air enters the intake section of the carburetor from the air cleaner, which removes suspended dust particles. Okay, so this point is also quite clear, that before this section, the air is basically coming from here. This will be your you can say air filter. Okay, the air will be coming from air filter, so that if it has some dust particles as well, they are also removed. It is mentioned in the first line of this slide. Then the air then flows into the venturi section, which is sometimes also referred as choke tube or a converging diverging nozzle, where the air velocity increases at the expense of the decrease in pressure. And I have already explained you that the velocity of the air will increase when the air reaches from point 1 to point 2, and because of the increase in velocity, the pressure will decrease. And because of this decrease in pressure, there is a pressure difference between this point 2 and inside the float chamber, because of which the fuel would be sent from this float chamber. The fuel will flow from inside the float chamber into the section 2, into this point 2, because of the pressure difference. And then it will not only mix with the air will also atomizes it, and then it will move towards the intake manifold and then into your combustion chambers. So the air then flows into the venturi, where the velocity will increase and the pressure will decrease. The fuel level is maintained at constant height in the float chamber. And how is it going to happen? How the question is, how this fuel level is going to be maintained inside the float chamber? I explained you guys that because of this float pivot, when the level is maintained, float pivot and this supply line from this strainer is at same level. But when the flow level decreases, this float pivot will start dropping. The level of this float pivot will start decreasing, and then the new fuel will enter in the float chamber. When the level reaches the same, the float pivot will block this line again, and no new fuel will come inside the float chamber from strainer. So as the fuel moves from fuel metering device into the nozzle, it will again go back, new fuel will come, and then it will again block the supply line from the strainer. Fuel pivot will block the supply line from the strainer. So that is how the flow level inside the float chamber will be maintained. Okay, so the fuel, now moving towards the next point, the fuel flows through the main jet, which is fuel metering orifice, as a result of the pressure difference between the float chamber and the venturi throat. This is called carburetor depression through the fuel discharge nozzle into the venturi throat. And I also mentioned you guys earlier that fuel will flow from this float chamber to the point 2 because of the pressure difference between these points. This point which is at point 2, and at this point at which there will be some pressure as well. Because of this pressure difference, the fuel will flow from this float chamber into the venturi section, and this pressure difference is called carburetor depression. This pressure difference is called carburetor depression. So I hope it will be clear to all of you guys that what is carburetor depression. Carburetor depression is basically the difference between the pressure at the venturi throat and the float chamber. Venturi throat is basically that section which was at state 2, from which the converging section is then converting into the diverging section. That is basically called the venturi throat. At throat, the air stream atomizes the liquid fuel. So I also mentioned this earlier that not only the fuel will flow from the float chamber to the venturi throat, but air will also atomize that fuel as well. The fuel air mixture then flows through the diverging set of the venturi, where the flow decelerates and some pressure recovery occurs. So again, after the venturi throat, we basically had a diverging section, and when it passes through the diverging section, its velocity will start decreasing, and that pressure drop which occurs while moving from the converging section, there will be some recovery in that pressure drop as well. The flow then passes through the throttle valve and then enters into the intake manifold and then into the combustion chamber. Okay, so I hope this I have explained all the basic concepts and the operations of the basic components of the carburetor, and not only the components of the carburetor, but along with the components, I have also explained the principle of carburation as well. So I hope it will be all clear to you guys. Now moving forward, this simple carburetor have some deficiencies as well. As I explained earlier, that during the starting or idling condition, we will require the rich air fuel mixture, and not only that, but when we are accelerating, then we will also require the rich air fuel mixture. But under the normal or cruising operation, we will require idling conditions. Under the normal or cruising operation, we will require lean air fuel mixture. So these are some of the requirements which our simple carburetor may not satisfy. Therefore, some additional equipments are being used, which we will also discuss, we will discuss in the next class as well. But right now we are going through the basic deficiency. What are the deficiencies in the elementary carburetor? So we will start discussing the basic deficiencies of an elementary carburetor. As I mentioned earlier, that when you are operating on the idling condition, or you have a starting condition you will require rich mixture, and then on the in the then in the acceleration condition as well you will require the rich mixture. But when you are operating under the normal condition, or when you are operating in the cruising operation, you will require lean mixture. So your elementary carburetor cannot obey these conditions, and will have to and there are some deficiencies regarding it, and then we add some modern equipment and some modern parts in the basic elementary carburetor, which we will discuss in the next class. Then right now we will just discuss these deficiencies of the elementary carburetor. Okay, starting with the number one. At low loads, the mixture becomes leaner, while the engine requires the mixture to be enriched at low loads, because you have to overcome the friction, which we discussed earlier. You have to overcome the friction, therefore you require rich air fuel mixture. But since the choke valve is slightly open and lesser amount of the air is coming, and there will be a lesser carburetor depression between the throat and the float chamber, therefore a small amount of the fuel will be flowing into the venturi throat, which is a deficiency, because we require a rich air fuel mixture at low loads. Next, at intermediate loads, the mixture equivalence ratio increases slightly as the flow air increases, while the engine requires an almost constant equivalence ratio. First of all, you all must know about the equivalence ratio. Equivalence ratio is defined as the ratio between the actual air fuel ratio to the stoichiometric air fuel ratio. And when we are operating at the intermediate loads or during the cruising conditions, we require same air fuel mixture. But since your choke valve is opening from this condition from 25% to 60%, there is a quite variation in the movement in the opening of this throat valve, which will also increases the air flow, and then the more the air come, the more will be the fuel from the float chamber to the venturi throat as well, then which will ultimately increase the fuel air fuel mixture. But we require the same fuel air mixture, we require the same equivalence ratio at the normal or intermediate loads operation. So this is the disadvantage. This is the second disadvantage. As the airflow approaches the maximum wide open throttle valve, the equivalence ratio remains essentially constant. However, the mixture equivalence ratio should increase to 1.1 or greater to provide maximum power. Again, that is the same point that when you require higher loads, we require rich air fuel mixture, and your elementary carburetor would not be providing a rich air fuel mixture at the higher loads. Your basic carburetor will not provide the rich air fuel mixture. Okay, next point is the elementary carburetor can neither compensate for transient phenomena in the intake manifold, nor can it enrich the mixture during the engine starting and warm-up conditions. Then in this point, basically we are talking about the sudden changes in the load requirements. Your elementary carburetor cannot incorporate the sudden changes. Let's say, for example, I am running my car and I suddenly press my accelerator. Now I require a rich air fuel mixture, or I have suddenly stopped my car. Then because of the inertial effects, there is some duration in which I would have the incomplete combustion inside my car. So there are some deficiencies of this elementary carburetor, which needs to be considered, or there might be some additional equipments which I need to install in this elementary carburetor. Then the next is the elementary carburetor cannot adjust to changes in ambient air density. Okay, as we move towards the higher regions, the air density has increased, and because of that the air fuel ratio also increases. There are the changes in the air fuel ratio as well, which this elementary carburetor cannot compensate. So there are some altitude compensators which are added in the carburetor to overcome such conditions, that if the density has been increased at higher altitudes, how can we overcome this situation in order to ensure that we have a proper combustion inside the combustion chamber. So altitude compensators are used for that purpose. Okay, guys, so far we studied today. We started with the uh, different operating conditions: the idling, starting, cruising, normal power, and the third one was the maximum power or the acceleration condition. Then we discussed the basic components of a carburetor in details. Then we studied the principle of carburation, and then we studied the deficiencies of the elementary carburetor. In the next class we will discuss some additional equipments which are incorporated in the modern carburetors, and to overcome all of these deficiencies. And till now I will request all of you to go through these lectures carefully, so that you may not have any problem in the next classes as well. Okay, in case if there are any queries, you can always contact me through email. Okay, Allah Hafiz.